It gives me great pleasure to welcome our next presenter, Michael Viega.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning, Mike, who's going to be on the subject From Orphan to Sage, Stages of Adolescent Recovery from Trauma in Therapeutic Songwriting.
Great, it's lovely to be here. Thank you, Gareth, and thank you, Marissa, for giving us this space. I am a board-certified music therapist in the United States. In New York, I'm a licensed creative arts therapist, and I've been working primarily with children and adolescents who have experienced a wide range of traumas, from medical to socioeconomic to extreme adverse childhood experiences. Today, I'm going to be focusing on songwriters in a child welfare program and a behavioral health program that I worked with for several years. I feel like this is I'm teaching right now at Montclair State University. I feel like this is a great time period for music therapists and music educators to be dialoguing and talking, especially as our world and as our interests are very much intersecting right now. So I'm really, really pleased to be here. I'd like to just start off with a song. This song was written by a 17-year-old songwriter within this foster care program. She was actually transitioning to a vocational school after being at this foster care setting for about 5 years and previously had experienced extreme childhood trauma. So yeah, I'm going to hit play now, and if you can't hear it, please let me know.
Mike, we can't hear it on our end.
All right. I got a thumbs up, so let's try it. We'll try it again.
It's just quiet.
Oh, it is? Oh, wow. It's quiet.
Yeah, just turn up your speakers.
Let's try it again.
Or you might need to re-share because you need to click those buttons at the... Y'all know what this is.
How about that?
Yeah.
Butterfly wings.
All right. All right, let's try it again.
Y'all know what this is. Butterfly wings. This is for everybody who didn't have enough courage when I was going in. This is for everybody who is entering a new life or coming from an old one. Ready? Here we go. I'm newly birthed like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm not old, but I'm new with butterfly wings. Humanity better watch out, cause I'm bringing something brand new. Loving me in my butterfly wings. Soar. Fly higher than you ever thought you could. For if you didn't believe, just take to the ground. With the speed of a true, the grace of a dove, and the serenity of a dove. For now you have butterfly wings. You can make.
So I'm going to have to pause there, but that was a song written by a 17-year-old songwriter and who really represents, in a lot of ways, through this development of songs that that I analyzed over several years, and I have a large collection of songs written by teenagers and children across the wide spectrum of healthcare services. And one of the things I've been involved with deeply is analyzing songs to really understand and get into the DNA of experiences, both relationally, but also development through various traumas that people have experienced. And And so this has been a wonderful heuristic. I use several heuristic tools for assessment through analysis. I do formalized score analysis, lyric analysis, but also experiential analysis through acts like remixing music. So to analyze music is to analyze human experience. The structure of human experience in music is homologous with the structure of music itself. So when we talk about the music, we're fundamentally talking about our shared experience and our experience in our world. So I won't go too far into this because I really want to share this kind of development that has unfolded in each song, and how each song kind of represents different stages, and how I can understand what is needed as the therapist, how I can understand what a person's needs are in the moment, and how the music is helping fundamentally. But some of, for me, the Therapeutic Studio, utilizing various equipments, sound textures, digital audio workstations, live instruments, a variety. So I would set up in the classroom space. After school, I would come in and kind of turn the classroom into a little therapeutic studio for them, with attention to lighting and space and environment. And really, they took on a lot of primary roles. And I took on a lot of roles depending upon their needs. So a lot of them instantaneously, let's say, Music Mike, you're a producer. And I took that as I'm a deep listener, and I help create sound worlds that would help them share their narratives and their hero's journey within the music. Sometimes I took on the role of the technician, trying to help them to, navigate some of the technology. Sometimes I just sat back. They already knew how to do it. And I could be an authentic fan in their presence and witness their process and journey. Sometimes I was the role of the co-writer, helping them out with some of the musical structures involved. But really, within a therapeutic studio space, the song is constantly evolving. The songwriting process, it's not like we write a song and then record it. The studio space becomes the primary instrument. All right. So the people I worked with all had experienced extreme adverse childhood experiences. The ACE studies started in 1995 at the Mayo Clinic that took longitudinal data and have really correlated the strength between the more adversity one faces as a child, and those are listed as things like experiencing sexual and physical abuse, incarcerated parents, or other primary caregivers, drug and alcohol abuse within the family system. The higher score, the more likely towards major health issues as adults, such as early death or repeating cycles of violence. So the teenagers, the youth that I worked with here, all were in between 14 and 17 years old primarily, and so I consider adolescence as this very liminal state, and the state that it's important to kind of in these moments build resources to help move on towards perhaps meaningful adulthoods. Having been a therapist since 2000 and 1999 2000, I continuously find people who find me I worked with in the early 2000s, and I'm sure you all have experienced this too, where it's like I'm doing nice to see you again, Music Mike. I'm now doing construction, or I'm doing this, that, or the other. But that time we wrote a song together, I've never forgotten. I still have that song, and I play it for my kids or whatever. These moments that are very impactful, that help provide sense of meaningful moments. It's not curative, and it's not it's not going to solve issues or cure trauma, but it certainly provides moments in time in which we can experience connection. And the act of creation is the antithesis of destruction. And so even in these processes, there was no I did not give any reference towards what songs should be written. It was really about where they are in a moment. So for me, I wasn't guided by, censoring language or censoring their process, but instead providing roles to help their process unfold. So, I won't go into the research too much, but these are the major themes across many songs analyzed. I did share in the chat earlier. I meant to share it later, but kind of a article that might also get into a little bit more some of this work. But within the songs that I've analyzed, at this setting in particular, there were kind of three major themes: songs that of protecting vulnerability, songs of abandonment, and songs of faith and love. Oftentimes and each one of these kind of songs grouped in these categories have unique characteristics, and how as you go through the various songs that emerge, you have certain musical characteristics, composition techniques that shift over time. The melody that unfolds in songs that protect vulnerability was very different than the melodies that unfolded, the intervals that happened, the use of sound effects, or the roles and the types of songwriting that occurred. So I won't get into this much, but as I grouped everyone and I grouped songs in those various categories, I then looked at the development of the music and stylistic elements across those songs, the recording techniques that we used in each category and what their clinical function was, the production techniques that we utilized and their clinical functions of the various effects, pitch correction, etc. The effective intuitive elements of the songs, revealing kind of clinical needs and the clinical development through each stage. And so I don't just do lyric analysis as kind of a separate entity. Fundamentally, the lyrics and the music play a role together, and that it's the interaction between the music and the lyrics. So oftentimes people get hung up in the lyrics, especially when dealing with songs with evocative content. But oftentimes there can be really evocative content, but the music says a whole different story that really kind of enhances that evocative content or provides us a gateway into a new world. And so attuning to the soundscape within the narratives that people tell is very, very important, especially for a music therapist, because it allows us into the sound environment of what that narrative is unfolding. And those sound environments sound really different across each kind of theme and development. So I utilized Fowler's development of faith model as one way to understand too what how songwriting was helping towards various stages of the main theme, which was people who were moving on to vocational training, people who were moving on from the foster care system, people who were the youth that were taking an active role in their recovery, all had very similar themes in their songs, which was at some point mentioning aspects of faith, whether it was saying it particularly outright that it's my faith that has guided me here. I tried to commit suicide at one point, but something saved me. Something has been watching me. Something or someone has been carrying me through this journey. And that, that begins from an internal process an external process of externalizing love, and then moving into internalizing it into a self-love. These things have kind of been developmental, and I can really hear them in the songs that they create. So here's a kind of a little model of when people are in these early phases of songwriting, when they first come to the Therapeutic Studio and they're imitating their favorite artists, or they're in this kind of projective, intuitive play of, quickly making a beat on my drum machine, freestyling lyrics, and kind of really utilizing this space as a play space. We all know, as we first started learning our own musical instruments and our own craft and our own musicianship and who we were, we all imitated our favorite artists or musicians to get that right tone, or even assimilated dance moves or stylistic elements. And this process of imitation is really important towards the development of self. And so this projective intuitive songwriting was a really important phase for many people. This is also where a lot of the kind of objectification, or where language plays a role, because we're really externalizing ourselves, protecting our vulnerabilities, meaning that it's not time to move into the next phase, which is really developing that self-reflection, because it's in that phase of phase 2 that many of the kids I worked with, they had no resources for how to navigate discussing the extreme adversity they had experienced. When we move into relationships, especially as a music therapist and as a music educator, we tend to create spaces where people are very, very vulnerable and open up really fast. However, and a lot of times with youth who have not necessarily navigated or had resources to really process, we have to be careful of those relationships as they unfold, that we might be moving in too quick, too fast. And so, a lot of people get stuck on the content of these early phases, but it's really this phase and so where, a lot of people started describing sexual, physical abuse, their trauma that they had experienced in the music and in the songs, in a more linear, literal, kind of narrative began to unfold. Oftentimes too, you start to see characters, perhaps if they're not internalizing the songs as an I am or I have experienced, they become about various characters, and the seeker or various archetypes begin to emerge. But the general characteristic here is that a linear narrative forms, and the music's role is to kind of enhance through sound effects that narrative that unfolds. It's a different sound, a different style than this. And then developing self-love is this last phase where the music and the lyrics really support each other, and they're playing a way more active role usually in the songwriting experience here. So let me just play a couple of examples. Hopefully you'll hear, and I won't play too much of it, but here's a song within this kind of an imitation phase. This is this songwriter I first met. This is his first time recording a beat, his first session.
Yeah, 100. Reek
He's just
Mugger.
freestyling.
Shout out to my baby Bang Bang. Shout out to Flo Mugger. Yeah, I love you, Bang Bang. Boy, Reek Mugger, he rip shit for real. That's all I do. Let's get to it. Yeah. Okay. DJ turn me up. Haters getting mad cause they DJ turn me up. Pocket full of mugger, pocket full of mugger. DJ turn me up, DJ turn me up. Haters getting mad cause they DJ turn me up. And they DJ turn me up so they haters get mad. DJ turn me up, DJ turn me up. Haters getting mad cause they DJ turn me up. Haters getting mad cause they DJ turn me up. Hey, let's get to it.
So that goes on for about 5 minutes. He was in a manic phase of his bipolar disorder. He had just entered into the system. A lot of the music that he created on the beat has a lot of modulation and stretching out, and very kind of manic phases of manic rhythms and sounds that are through there, and he just kind of repeats and imitates as one of his favorite artists throughout the entire song. But within that, he's starting to build resources, creating beats, learning how to utilize the equipment, freestyling and lyrical play. And when he moves into another stage where he starts to open up to me, then we can utilize those resources we've gathered gathered in his early stage to really help him process his experiences. So very quickly, just two more, and I'll breeze through these. Here's a song within stage 2. Let me see if it's, yep.
Welcome to darkness. Alright, so you wanna feel my pain? You wanna know how to go utterly insane? Try getting beat with a dog chain. I roll my sleeve up cause I stay around with my gang. I don't need no guns, my eyes are number one. I predict the future, I call it shotgun gun. Black fire in my eyes, can't you see it, son? I trained so hard, I forgot how to fucking run. You see, darkness is eternity. I paint suffering is everything that is me. I'm everything that you wanna be, but little do you know, darkness has truly worried me.
All right, so that song took him about 4 sessions to create. He created with his own agency and autonomy. I kind of helped piece it together, but he knew exactly how he wanted the various voices. The low-pitched voice, what he explained as his as kind of hopelessness, as his major depression. He had a clean voice in the mix that he wanted in what he projected as a healthy voice, his healthy voice, but then he doubled it with more distortion as his angry voice, and in the mix itself, his angry voice is pushing the healthy voice. At the end of the song, those 3 voices merged to tone together, and he was very specific about how he wanted those voices to kind of merge. So as we have a song that's about, in some aspects, suicidal ideation, hopelessness, no light, through the creation of it is him processing, his experiences of trauma. And then, so it's really in this phase that the therapist role is to nurture and to become an authentic fan and to really help, provide a space for that exploration and continued resource building. The last phase, butterfly wings really represents kind of the one side of this kind of pattern. And, just so you know, it's not linear. People do kind of write songs that are about one and then move into another and then move back to this, that, or the other. So it is always kind of unfolding, but it lets me know in a moment of time where one person is at. And so that's really it. This is how I've experienced. I'm able to hear songs and be able to work with other therapists and also work with the songwriters I work with to kind of help say, well, here we are in this time, what are the needs here? What are the developmental stages we're at? How can we help provide various resources in the song, to help move through various stages towards developing that sense of faith and love, especially internalizing that and embodying that in the songwriting. So that's it. Happy to ask questions. I know it's very quickly. I tried to move through it quickly. But thanks for listening.